I got coffee in my cock! Ow! Oh, it burns! Oh,
it burns so good.
Alright, the parts list to K-swap a CRX. I'll start over here. You're gonna need your transmission. This one's just a 5-speed out of an EP3. I mean, you can get a 6-speed or whatever you want. Your choice of K-series engine. This one's a k20 Z3. I didn't want a K24 because I want my hood to clear. This one was supposed to be complete when I called the guy, but when I got there, he said his friend took the manifold, so I had to buy this. I buy a throttle body, B-series TPS adapter, idle air control valve. He gave me a new starter. This swivel port, this AC power steering delete I had to buy. Had to buy this alternator out of an RXS Type S. And I think that's it for the motor. So for the parts, I got RSX base model axles. Where did I get the half shaft? Came with the motor. These EP3 cables came with the trans, but they're not going to work, so I have new ones coming. He gave me the master cylinder and the slave with the transmission, this flywheel cover, all the bolts, the clutch, and to buy a throwout bearing. I got this Circuit Works exhaust, a budget tuck harness, this conversion harness, which I don't like. There's no DLC port on it, so I wouldn't advise. It's just a cheap eBay conversion harness. Got the Hasport EFK2 motor mounts. I would get your mounts after you get your transmission, because it took me a while to find a RSX transmission. Let's see. You're gonna have to move your battery. So I got some 6-gauge terminals. I'm gonna get the PC 680 battery. This is a mount bolted in. Let's see what we got here. Oh, fan switch. Yeah, fan switch and temperature sender. Got the clutch line. Didn't come with it. My transmission. Air freshener. Always need one of those. This little billet shifter. Got the firewall grommet. The base plate for it. Over here, throttle body gasket. Some stuff that came with my manifold. O2 sensor. I think that's RSX. Yeah, okay. Type F. This you don't really need. It's just a booster delete. I just got it for half off, so I picked it up. I have an extra master for the clutch, but it came with one. fuel rail. You might need it, might not, depending how you want to do your fuel lines. This isn't real K-Pro. It's just a PRC ECU. Got map sensor. And some missing a bunch of sensors. Injectors. Some miscellaneous hardware. And just a fuel pressure regulator and some fittings. So that's about it. We still got a few parts coming in the mail, but that should be almost all of them to get this baby rolling. Alright, so I got a couple more parts in the mail. My little Skunk 2 half-size radiator was a no-go. So I got the MK1 and 2 VW radiator, which seems to be a popular choice in these CRXs. So it's gonna require some modding, but pretty sure it'll fit. What else? Oh, I'm still waiting on a fan for that. I got my battery. This is basically equivalent to the Odyssey PC680. So it's got a little more juice, supposedly. But it doesn't fit flush in my battery box at the top because this part's a little less recessed than the Odyssey. So I would say just get the Odyssey instead. I got a steel oil pan because the cast aluminum one on there is going to be pretty low, and they say they crack if they hit the ground instead of this one, which will just dent. So I think I'm going to swap that out. Got some swap radiator hoses. It's got the fan switch port right there. Some electrical stuff. I got these little terminals for the battery in case I want to put those on. And you're gonna need a little 32mm inline fill because there's not one on this radiator. And I think that's pretty much it for new parts. Yeah. Alright, so a quick rundown of this car before I case swap it. It's a 1990 CRX DX. I got it for $600 with the blown motor. And I swapped a B16 in it, and the turbo. And it's fun. She's been good and reliable. But now it's time for something with some torque. So the K20 it is. And now I just gotta pull out this fucking motor. Alright, so I got the engine out. Took a little longer because I had all the turbo stuff. There she sits over there. Anyways, once that's out of the way, I gotta work on cleaning all this up. So I'm gonna push through all these wires into the cabin. So I got my seat, makes stuff way easier. But yeah, feed them all through here, and then I'll get back to you. All right, so I got most of the harness pushed through. The rest of this stuff is just for my gauges and some lights. But yeah, it's all in here now. So now I was gonna work on taking the motor mount out or moving this brake line, but you need, I think, a security Torx 30 to get those out and move that bracket. So I'm gonna work on this cross member. I believe has port. It says you got it dented about 1/4 inch and bend this lip up. So that's what I'm gonna do. Probably about from this mark to that one. That should be good. And you could either cut it and re-weld it, use some hammers, but I'm gonna try this air hammer first. Yeah, I'll show you when it's done. So all right, here's the finished product. I hope that's enough, but I haven't test fitted the engine yet. I just used this. I didn't have the right tip, so I had to cut off the chisel tip on it. And then I just slowly worked my way up. That's about it. I did use a little heat, not too much though. Yeah, I hope that's gonna be enough. Let's see. Try to get a good angle on it. Anyways, well, that's that for now. I want to take out this engine mount. There are, let's see if I can hold the light there. So there's spot welds. There's 2 here, 4 here. There's 3 here, 2. This one I couldn't drill, so I just cut it off with the cutting wheel. But I just used a regular 1/4 inch drill bit. You could buy special spot weld drill bits, but this isn't a show car or anything, so I'll be just fine. It just barely got into the metal. Just don't drill all the way through. And I used up this and a hammer, and also this guy came in handy to kind of pry it. Just be careful because it'll dent that in. But yeah, probably takes about 15-20 minutes and it's off. So that's all for now. Okay, now that the engine mount is out of the way, we can move over to this proportioning valve, which has to move to the firewall. But first, I'm gonna remove this guy. And it's got 4 spot welds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just gonna use this 1/4 inch drill bit again and pry it off. Alright, so I got the bracket off. Kind of made a little hole, 2 little holes. Just fill them in with the welder when I weld the engine mount. Grind them flush. Call it a day. No big deal. Now it's time for this. So, got this at Harbor Freight for $6. And where is it? Alright. You're gonna need the T30. This is a security tip. And fit It's right in there. You gotta keep this clamped when you break those loose. I broke them loose without undoing these bolts first, so I have a little more leverage. And then this bracket's got to be flipped around, so when you bend this over, it can mount on there. As far as the brake line bending, I have this little tool. Should help so you don't kink them. You can go to move it over. Yeah. Okay, so I'm about halfway there, bending this over. Didn't really use these too much. The handles kind of got in the way. Made it at an awkward angle. So I used something round like this guy. Also, this little bar, put it in a hole down there. It kind of helps to bend around. And then I just kind of work down and then back up, down. Rinse, wash, repeat. I got the bracket flipped to this side, so that wasn't too hard. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going. Okay, so I got the proportioning valve all the way to the firewall. There's two little holes back where the charcoal canister used to be, so I just got a bolt started, and that's where that's gonna go. All right, so I'm getting ready to put in the shifter, so I gotta get my old stuff out. So you got two 12mm you gotta get from under there, and I had to undo one of the rubber exhaust hangers to pull my exhaust down a little bit. Pull this out. There's just a couple little screws, like 3 on each side, and these two 10mm, and we're clear. All right, install this billet shifter. So there's 4 longer screws and 4 shorter. That's these guys, which just drop into these right here. I had to trim a little carpet so this would sit flush down on there. Okay, so this side is recessed to go over those. So make sure you put it on right. Like so. And your 2 long bolts there. And the front, you're gonna have to mark them once you get these secured down, and then we're gonna have to drill it out. Okay, so this base plate does not sit all the way flush, and that makes this rub. So let's unscrew it real quick. You're gonna have to cut this guy around if you want this to sit all the way down as far as it'll go. See, yeah, it's just not enough. Damn it. Alright. So I got this cut flush. Let's use this little grinder. That. And that's sitting as low as it'll go now. But this is still hitting. So, I think we're gonna have to get rid of this space plate altogether. And mount this by itself. There we go. Well, we got some clearance. Okay. Alright, I got the shifter all mounted down. I used a little nutsert tool for these front two. You could just drill it and run a nut in a bolt, but it's just harder to get in and out later down the road if you need to. I still gotta cut a piece of sheet metal to patch up this hole and weld it in. But she's pretty solid. Oh. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so I've been working on getting the shifter cables through the firewall. It's 2 layers thick. Major pain in the ass. Might be easier just to go through the tunnel right there. But I wanted to go through the firewall. So, my light. It's gonna come out about right behind this mount. But I got a little more trimming to do on the inside, and then it'll be done. So, alright. Another problem you might have is your header clearance. This is a budget Circuit Works header. You buy name brand, you probably won't have this problem. But you just kind of trace out where it hits, grind your life away, and then weld. Make sure you weld the seam back shut when you go past these spot welds. You might have to air hammer a little below the slip down there, but I mean the motor torques down that way. This one's pretty good. This one's pretty tight. I can't go much past where it went, so I might have to dent this a little. We'll see. We'll see if it rubs. But that's what you gotta do, and should be good. Try to give you a good angle. Alright. Yeah, I just got the motor back out after I test fit it. And Castport recommends test fitting it before you weld your motor mount in. And I was just checking my subframe clearance, which was good, and modifying for header clearance a little bit. And then this rear guy, I had to Dremel out because the bolt wouldn't go through. So, something you might have to do. My engine needs to go like a 1/4 inch towards the driver's side because it was kind of hard getting this past or driver side mountain, transmission mount. I had to kind of pry it over. So I want to keep this flush against the frame, so I think I'm just gonna Dremel out these bottom 2 holes a little that way. And should be good there. What else? I found out my transmission mount hole is stripped out right here. So I have to helicoil it or something. There's like, I can't see There's a couple threads on the bottom, but yeah, pretty awesome. Just more work. Okay, so I got the rear mount welded in place. You want to bolt it up to your rear mount, do this side and take it off. Finish it up, and then I started tacking in the motor mount. It's all welded in. So just this back part, there, there, there. That top corner, and right there. Now I just gotta clean it all up and paint. Okay, so they're all painted. I painted a little more where I took the old mount out. And I painted this back one too. Done and done. Okay, another thing you need to do is put in your old cable driven speed sensor. So here they are side by side. The gear's slightly shorter, but it should work just fine. So all right, so there it is in place. The bolt's bigger for this transmission, so I'm gonna have to drill this out and move it the hole slightly that way, but then I should be good. Okay, so I got the bracket drilled out, all bolted down. Now you just stick your cable down and clip it in. That clip around right here. Push your boot on, and you're done with the speed sensor. Alright, so I got started on converting to a hydraulic clutch. This came with my transmission, this master out of the EP3. Try to give you a good angle on kind of where you need to go. But I also bought one, but I'm not sure if I'm going to use that or not. But you could use that if you need to. Then I guess I started off by going in the car and kind of laying something flat on this pedal to the firewall to kind of give you a sense of where your hole needs to be. Then I just used the little gasket, taped it on there, and traced it out. And then used a drill and a Dremel. Once that was bolted in, you could kind of line up where you need to drill your hole on your pedal. You're gonna have to cut off some of this bracket. So, still works, just half, but so that's where I'm at. I'm gonna go bolt it in and see how it works. But you could buy kits that go under the dash too, but this is more a budget setup. So I'll show you this clutch from the inside here. There she is. And it all seems to work pretty smooth. So now I'm just going to take this pedal back out, paint it, put a little grease on there. And maybe some RTV around that or something. It's not a perfect seal. Then I just have to get my clutch line on. I got this one from K Motor. Came with a bunch of different fittings. and the clutch line. So, should be all done with that. Okay, on to installing this new master cylinder for the booster delete. Totally optional. Still need to get this fitting here. I'm just pulling this out right now. So just drain your reservoir, 2 10mm for the brake lines, 4 12mm nuts on the inside. They're fun to get to. And then just the little cotter pin on the brake pedal. So I'm gonna pull it out real quick. Alright, some additional things to keep in mind if you get this booster delete kit. There's the part number, but it doesn't come with the clevis pin, so I went to Home Depot and got this one. It was a little too long, but now I have one. Yeah, the stock one just is too short. Also, the hardware it comes with is a little too short to go to thread all the way into the nut. So I got a 50mm length. That's the longest they had. Hopefully that's enough. It's a little bit longer. I think it'll just be enough. And then the rear port is a 1/8-27 NPT fitting. So O'Reilly's carries these. So you need that and that. And then since there's only one outlet instead of two, you're gonna need a T. These fittings are, what was it, M10 by 1.0. So you're gonna have to buy one more fitting and flare the end, and that should work. Just gotta flare it for this side too and bend it, but then this will bolt up to there. Had to rebend these lines, but should be good to go. Alright, so the booster delete's all done and bolted in. Just had to make this little line. Bolted this little T there. And not too bad. Just gotta bleed the brakes and the clutch too, but that's all done. Alright, moving on to the fuel system. So, I just got the OEM injectors for now. Just make sure you lube the shit out of them with some oil. And then, while you're putting them in, hold pressure on the top and kind of use a flat blade to push in, go around it. Don't dig straight into it or it might damage it. But that's how you get those in, because they're a really tight fit. Then I got this K-motor fuel rail, and then they also sell the AN adapter that bolts up to your hard line right there. So you could go to 6 AN right off that, easy peasy. Then I have my old fuel filter, which is kind of bulky, but it'll work for now. So I'm just gonna finish getting this fuel rail on real quick. Oh, I had to re-tap these because shitty machining process, but yeah. Okay, so the fuel system is all done skis pretty much. Start back here from this hard line. I got that K-motor 6 AN fitting. Worked pretty well. Just go from there, feed into your regulator. I think if you had a 180 right here, it'd be nicer and more clean, but use what you got. And then, I mean, you could mount your regulator wherever your little heart desires, but I mounted mine wrong like an idiot the first time, and this bolt hit. I maybe could have cut into it, but I just decided to lower her down here. Gonna have two brackets bolted together, and then just drilled this, put a lock nut, and it's pretty solid. Then this is your return line. Just ran that right to there. And from your regulator to your fuel filter, I just got one bolt down there. And then you gotta notch this, well, at least with this particular big ass bulky one. Get something better. I recommend. And then from there, gonna feed right into your fuel rail. I had to steal this fitting off my B series. It didn't come with any. What the fuck am I stepping on? And then that's pretty much it. Just want to tuck this line under so it looks shitty right there. And then the fuel pressure port right there is not gonna work with my setup, so I'm gonna have to retap this. Just thinking maybe the plug on the end or something. But I don't know. That's pretty much it. Just a lot of time making some lines and drilling all that out, those brackets together and stuff, but should work. All right, axle installation. So these are the ones I got. I think that's passenger and that's the driver part number. They were just under $100, like 97. Or you could buy, you know, 300 and up swap axles. Those are RSX base model. I measured them, fully compressed. The passenger was 22.5 and the driver was 24 1/8. So they say RSX base model axles are supposed to be a direct swap in. Not for me, maybe because these are aftermarket. My passenger fit good, so that one worked out. Hasport says to jack the lower control arm until this is parallel with the ground, and then you want this to be like a 1/4 inch out or in. Within, mine was like a 1/4 inch in. But, yes. Some people swap out the innards from driver and passenger because they try to get these closer to 23 inches. So that makes this one a little bit longer. I don't have the clamp tool to undo those and put them back. So, but this one was within spec. So passenger is good as far as mine go. The driver, however, too old for this shit. Yeah, the driver was a no-go. Maybe if I swapped out the innards, I'm not sure how much that changes the length, but that fully compressed before I could get the ball joint in the lower control arm. So I took my B series axle and that That was slightly out of spec when that was fully parallel to the ground, but it wasn't bottomed out, and I felt you could feel if your bearings are coming out. If it's too short, you'll feel them coming out there. And that wasn't, I think it'll be just fine. And damn, I did my B swap so long ago. I think this is out of an Integra. I want to say a 90, but don't quote me on that. But that's what I'm gonna run. Yeah, if you got the money, just get swap axles, or I don't know, do what you gotta do. This is what I'm doing. Alright, that's pretty much the end of part one. Part two, we'll finish the job. We'll do the wiring, battery box, radiator, whatever else we gotta do. I mean, I try to take it pretty much as step-by-step as I possibly could. I mean, this is an easy swap compared to like, well, most of my cars are up front, but like they sell motor mount, like this is shit I had to build before. But Honda's nice. Like this car is my favorite car to work on. It's fun. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, we'll finish it up in part two. There's really not that much more to go. But if you want to like or subscribe, that's great. If not, I don't give a shit. I just like making videos.